So excited to be down here at Counts Customs with the man himself. It's Danny Coker. It's good to see you, man.
Brother, it's great to see you. And by the way, you have great taste in television viewing.
My shop is very unique. We do things differently here. For us, it's all about making them as stylish and beautiful as they can be.
For years, fans of counting cars have watched Danny the Count Coker build his automotive empire, a kingdom of chrome, horsepower, and pure rock and roll energy. He was the boss everyone wanted, passionate, loyal, and fair. But behind the roaring engines and smooth paint jobs, there were secrets. Because according to Danny himself, not everyone who walked through the doors of Counts Customs had what it takes to survive the pressure, the chaos, and the responsibility that came with the shop's success. Recently, Danny broke his silence, opening up about betrayal, laziness, and the 5 employees who nearly brought counting cars crashing down. Who were they? What really happened behind the cameras? And how did their actions almost destroy the empire Danny spent his life building? Let's find out, because this story might just change how you see counting cars forever. The rise of Counts Customs. Before the fame, before the cameras, and before the drama, Counts Customs was just a small, dusty shop tucked away in Las Vegas. Danny Coker built it from scratch, one car at a time. He didn't have corporate investors or flashy sponsorships. He had skill, vision, and relentless drive. He lived and breathed cars, turning broken-down classics into masterpieces that roared back to life. When the History Channel discovered him through Pawn Stars and gave him his own series, Counting Cars became an instant hit. Fans loved Danny's energy, his mix of rock star charisma and old-school craftsmanship. But what really made the show special was the team. Each member brought something unique, from painters and mechanics to welders and creative designers. Together, they made Counts Customs more than a shop. It was a family. But, like every family, it wasn't perfect. Because as fame grew, so did ego. And soon, Danny began noticing cracks forming in the team he once trusted with everything. When success turns toxic, the early seasons of Counting Cars were pure magic. Cars were being built faster than ever. The show was topping ratings, and tourists were flooding Las Vegas just to see the shop. But with money, recognition, and camera crews came something Danny wasn't prepared for: drama. Suddenly, the humble garage became a stage for tension, jealousy, and betrayal. Employees who once worked like brothers started competing for attention, not from Danny, but from the viewers. As Danny later admitted in interviews, success had a dark side. Some employees stopped caring about the craft and started caring about fame. Others took advantage of the chaos to hide mistakes, cut corners, or even worse, steal. And when the truth finally came out, Danny had no choice but to take action. He doesn't name names easily, but when he finally spoke up, the list of the worst 5 shocked even longtime fans, because these weren't outsiders. They were trusted team members, people he considered family. So who were they, and what went so wrong? Employee number 1. The betrayal that broke him. The first name on Danny's list was someone no one expected. A longtime mechanic who'd been with Counts Customs since the early days. Danny described him as talented but dangerous. He had incredible technical skills, but he also had a secret, one that would cost Danny thousands of dollars. According to insiders, this employee had been overcharging clients, adding fake parts, inflating invoices, and pocketing the difference. It took months for Danny to uncover the truth, but when he did, the betrayal hit hard. This wasn't just about money, it was about loyalty. Danny had given this guy a second chance, vouched for him, and treated him like family. But as Danny later said, when someone betrays your trust in this business, it's like a knife in the back. The fallout was immediate. The employee was fired, but the emotional damage lasted years. How could someone he trusted so much turn out to be his biggest liability. Employee number 2, the fame chaser. If there's one thing Danny values above all else, it's authenticity. He's a showman, sure, but his love for cars is real. Unfortunately, the same couldn't be said for everyone on the team. The second person on Danny's list wasn't fired for theft or failure, but for chasing fame. This employee started focusing more on their social media following than the cars in the garage. They showed up late, missed deadlines, and argued about screen time instead of paint colors. For Danny, that was unforgivable. He later admitted that one of the hardest parts of being on television was keeping the integrity of the craft alive when some people only cared about being famous. As Danny put it, "You can't fake passion. You either live this life or you don't." This employee's ego grew too big for the shop, and eventually, Danny had to make the call. "You're out." But little did he know, things were about to get worse. Employee number 3, the legal nightmare. Of all the people who've worked at Counts Customs, none caused more chaos than the one who ended up in serious legal trouble. This wasn't just about attitude or laziness, this was about crime. Fans will remember the shocking news when one former employee was accused of embezzling hundreds of thousands of dollars from the business. Danny was blindsided. He'd built the shop on loyalty, trust, and brotherhood, and now he was dealing with police reports and lawyers. The scandal nearly ruined the show's reputation. For months, Danny fought to keep the doors open and protect the team's name while the case unfolded. In one of his rare public comments, Danny said, "When you put your heart and soul into something and someone tries to take it from you, it changes you." He was hurt, angry, and embarrassed, but he refused to let it destroy Counts Customs. After that incident, Danny became much more guarded, both as a boss and as a friend. He learned the hard way that not everyone who calls you brother means it. But even after betrayal, the hits just kept coming. Because the next person on his list didn't steal money, they stole something even worse: his trust. Employee number 4, the one who vanished. This story still haunts Danny. It wasn't about betrayal, theft, or fame. It was about disappearing without a word. Danny has always said that running a shop like Counts Customs is more than just a job. It's a lifestyle. It's about family, discipline, and showing up, rain or shine. But one day, one of his most promising employees, a creative genius who'd become a fan favorite, simply stopped showing up. No calls, no messages, no explanation. At first, Danny was worried. Maybe something had happened, an accident, a family emergency. He tried reaching out for days, then weeks. Nothing. When the truth finally came out, it wasn't what anyone expected. The employee had burned out. Completely. They'd become overwhelmed by the pressure of fame, the stress of filming, and the endless demands of working under Danny's perfectionist standards. In interviews, Danny later admitted this was one of the hardest losses for him. Because it wasn't about anger, it was about sadness. He said, "When you care about people and they just walk away, it leaves a hole you can't fill." It made him realize how demanding the shop's world really was. The long nights, the deadlines, the camera crews, they could break even the most passionate builders. And although Danny never named this person publicly, fans who followed the show closely noticed who quietly disappeared mid-season and never returned. It was a painful reminder that even in success, not everyone is built for the spotlight. But the next employee on Danny's list? They weren't broken by pressure, they created it. Employee number 5, the troublemaker. Every workplace has that one person who stirs up drama wherever they go. And for Danny, that person was a nightmare. The 5th employee on his list wasn't the worst mechanic, or even the laziest. They were the most toxic. They complained constantly, argued with coworkers, and refused to take responsibility when things went wrong. They'd nitpick every instruction Danny gave, second-guess every decision, and drag down the team's morale with negativity. The worst part? They were good at their job, and they knew it. That made them dangerous. Danny tolerated it for as long as he could, hoping to turn things around. But the tension started infecting the whole crew. Other employees were walking on eggshells, afraid to set this person off. Finally, one day, Danny pulled them aside for a private talk. But the conversation exploded into a heated argument that was reportedly caught on camera and never aired. Danny later reflected, "I can forgive mistakes. I can't forgive disrespect." That was the end. The employee was fired immediately, and the atmosphere in the shop shifted almost overnight. Danny's team could finally breathe again. But that moment taught him something crucial. Sometimes talent isn't enough. If you can't work as a team, if your ego's bigger than your craft, you have no place in Counts Customs. Picking up the pieces. After years of UPS, downs, betrayals, and heartbreak, Danny Coker was left with hard-earned wisdom. He learned that running a family business under the spotlight isn't just about engines and paint. It's about trust, loyalty, and leadership. The shop had been through chaos, employees leaving, lawsuits, public drama, but Danny never gave up. Instead, he doubled down on what made Counts Customs special in the first place: passion. He rebuilt his crew with people he could trust, those who were there for the love of the work, not the love of the camera. People who showed up, stayed humble, and treated every car like a piece of art. And for Danny, it wasn't just about saving his business. It was about saving his integrity. He once said, "You can fix a broken car. Fixing a broken team? That's a whole other story." Over time, Counts Customs regained its footing. The show continued to thrive, even as its format changed and new faces joined the team. Danny's leadership, a mix of toughness, compassion, and pure old-school values, kept the shop alive when most others would have folded. But as he rebuilt his empire, Danny couldn't help but reflect on the past. The betrayals, the theft, the fights, the heartbreak of losing friends who once called him brother. It all left scars. But those scars became part of the story. Proof that even legends get burned sometimes. And yet, Danny's message remained the same. No matter what happens, you stand up, wipe the grease off your hands, and get back to work. The truth behind Danny's leadership. What made Danny Coker different from other TV bosses wasn't just his passion, it was his heart. While many reality show stars became caricatures of themselves, Danny stayed real. He never pretended to be perfect. He admitted when he was wrong, owned up to his mistakes, and treated his team like family, even after everything that had happened. But that honesty came with a cost. When he finally opened up about the 5 worst employees in Counts Customs history, he wasn't being cruel. He was being truthful. He wanted to warn others. Fame changes people. It can twist loyalty, distort priorities, and turn good workers into something unrecognizable. As Danny put it, when the cameras leave, you see who's real and who was just pretending. He's since moved forward, older, wiser, and still behind the wheel of his dream. But he'll never forget the lessons those years taught him about people, power, and pride. At the end of the day, Danny Coker's story isn't just about cars, it's about trust, loyalty, and survival in the fast lane of fame. He's seen the best and worst of people, from devoted friends who became family to employees who betrayed him when he needed them most. But even through the heartbreak and chaos, Danny never lost what mattered most: his love for the craft. Because Counts Customs was never just a garage, it was a dream built on sweat, sacrifice, and second chances. So when Danny finally revealed the truth about those who let him down, it wasn't bitterness speaking. It was clarity. In a world obsessed with fame, Danny Coker reminds us that real success isn't about being on TV or cashing a check. It's about standing by your values, even when it costs you everything. He's proof that even when the engine of life misfires, you can rebuild it, stronger, faster, and truer than ever before. Because at the end of the day, the Count always rides again.